Hello friends, welcome back. If you are new to my channel, I'm Raymond. I used to work in a US investment bank and I have transitioned into an investor and entrepreneur. If working in an investment bank is your dream job, today I'm going to share with you the toolkits that I used to handle the 4 types of difficult interview questions. There are ways to impress your interviewers with "Do you have any questions?" and a framework to solve those tricky brain teaser questions. All of the below are real-life examples that I've failed in the past, so I hope this will help you avoid the same mistake that I made. First, the most common type of questions is behavioral questions. Before jumping into the steps or giving you the answers, it's more important to understand why the interviewers ask you these questions. The objective, what they're looking for, the why is more important. What interviewers are looking for is your past experience or how would you work as a team to deal with the potential issues. Basically, this is a way to understand whether you will fit into your future role or their corporate culture. And now, the how. First, learn as much as you can about the company and the role. Find out some information about the type of employees that this company like to hire via LinkedIn. This will help you come up with a list of competencies and skills that is required for that role. Second, match your qualifications to the role. To prepare for a behavioral interview, you need to predict what kind of questions that the interviewers might ask. Accurate predictions comes from reviewing the job requirement and coming up with a list of behavioral skills that the interviewers may ask you. For example, if they require a candidate to work under tight timelines, the interviewer may ask you questions of how you cope with pressures at work. If the position is project-based and require collaboration across teams, the interviewer may ask you how you work as a team. Third, make a list of examples based on your past experience. Highlight the success and contribution you have made, the competencies and skills that you have developed, and come up with a good story. People love good stories, but keep your answer focused and succinct. The STAR framework is a good way to develop your answers. S stands for situation. Now that should account for about 20% of your response. Explain the situation so that your interviewer understands the context of your example, but they do not need to know every detail. T stands for task. That should account for about 10% of your response. Now talk about the task that you took responsibility for completing or the goal of your efforts. A stands for action. That should account for the majority 60% of your response time. Describe the actions you personally took to complete the task or reach the end goal. Highlight the skills or character traits addressed in the question. Lastly, R stands for results. That should account for about 10% of your time. Explain the positive outcomes or results generated by your actions or efforts. Remember to highlight quantifiable results and make it as specific as possible. For example, like achieving 20% increase in sales or a 30% gain in client base, etc. Finally, 3 ways to deal with negative questions. Like, how do you handle a challenge? The hiring manager wants to know how you will react in a difficult situation. Focus on how you resolved a challenging situation when you respond. Consider sharing a step-by-step outline of what you did and why it worked out. Second question. Have you ever made a mistake and how did you handle it? The interviewer is interested to understand how did you handle the mistake rather than the fact that it happened. Nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes. Remember not to answer that you have never made mistakes because that is not genuine and pretty much impossible. Number 3. What would you do if you disagreed with someone at work? The interviewer wants to know how you handled interpersonal issues at work. Focus on how you made a compromise and work with another party to reach the common ground when there is a conflict. Second, when an interviewer asks you, do you have any questions? Don't mistaken that she is being polite. She is trying to gauge whether you are interested and engaged. A recruiter friend once told me, if the applicant does not have any question for me, that is a red flag. I'm thinking either they don't care or they can't be bothered to do some research about the company. The best response is to ask relevant and thoughtful questions to show your interest in the company and the position. This is also your chance to understand more about the company culture and the expectation for your role. Some examples like, what are the skills and experience that you're looking for in an ideal candidate? What does a typical day look like? To show that you are enthusiastic and interested. Another approach is to build a relationship with the interviewer. People love talking about themselves. Plus, if you have similarities with them, that will create a bond between you and them. You can ask questions like, Can you share some experiences of how you succeed in this role? What is your favorite part about working here? Most of us like compliments. As a senior, they will be more than willing to share experience to help juniors to grow. By asking this question, it also indicates that you want to do well in your future role, leaving a good impression indirectly. Towards the end of the interview, don't forget to ask, what are the next steps in the interview process? One more tip, remember not to ask anything about the salary or the package. This will be negotiated at the last stage when they give you an offer. Third, brain teasers. To be very honest, brain teasers type of questions are less common now than 8 to 10 years ago. However, some companies still use them for junior positions that require analytical and problem-solving skills. I remember I was asked a question like, what is the square root of 2? Let's take 5 seconds and do it together. What is the square root of 2? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, time's up. The answer is 1.41. Anyone got it right? Let me know in the comment section below. The tricky part of this question is that it is very difficult to solve it directly. You have to test it in reverse. The way I did is to think it backward. So 1 times 1 equals to 1. 2 times 2 equals to 4. So the answer must fall within 1 to 2. Then you try 1.5 times 1.5, which equals to 2.25, and you gradually close in the range. Eventually, you will get to the answer of 1.4 or 1.41 to be exact. This question challenges you to handle the stress and to be able to deduce the answer logically backward. Before getting panicked when you receive this kind of brain teaser questions, try to think from the interviewer's perspective. Again, it's really important to understand what the interviewers really want. They want to find someone who can succeed in this job, not necessarily someone who is good at math. So what they really want to know is whether you can deal with the stress and also communicates clearly. Second question, how many windows are there in New York? Now, sometimes it is good to interact a little bit with the interviewer. You might respond by asking, are you only asking for the windows at the buildings, or does that include also the windows with the cars, the subway, or the exhibits at the zoo? This not only show off your curiosity, but also save you from tons of agony. Because if it turns out to be just building windows, then it saves you tons of the time and make your life so much easier. Third, ask for a few minutes for you to gather your thoughts and jot down some outlines. So you can assume that there's only building windows, about 10 million people in New York City, where you can assume 3 windows per person for apartments, etc. In terms of categories, there could be residential, retail shops, offices. Then you can calculate for residential equals to 10 million times 3 windows per person, plus the retail shops, plus the office equals the total number. Obviously, it is impossible for you to get to the exact accurate number. With this, you will get time to analyze and organize your communications clearly. Now, with your outline in hand, you are ready to give your interviewer a roadmap to your answers. Okay, now, so I'm going to solve this question in 3 steps. First, I'm going to name my assumptions, then I'll break the problem into different categories, and lastly, I'll make a calculation accordingly. Now, the interviewer can keep track on your progress according to your outline, and as a result, your answer will be more analytical and organized. So when it comes to apartment windows, I'm going to assume 3 windows per resident. That is because I've lived in a lot of 2-person apartments with 6 windows, so 3 windows per person feels about right. One tip to note here is that while the evidence might not seem solid, but the key word here is because. Psychological research indicates that people are more willing to accept when there's a justification attached. So this is a trick to make it sound more analytical and organized. Next step, break the problem down. Okay, since buildings at New York cities are so different, I'm going to look at the main 3 categories of buildings, namely residential, shops, and also office buildings. Number 3. Make calculations. While knowing that there are 8.09 million people in New York City to be exact, doing calculation based on that number will be a disaster. So do yourself a favor, round up that number. Alright, I'm going to say that there are about 10 million people in New York City, give or take a million. And then make your calculation on a piece of paper to come up with the number. Number 4, surprise questions. No matter how much you have prepared for an interview, sometimes you will still be surprised by some random questions and you don't know how to answer. For example, I was being asked, What is our company's stock price today? This question was actually being asked when I was interviewing for a summer analyst position about 10 years ago. I felt at this question, I was so shocked because I'm not realized that this is a question that I need to prepare at all. I answered with some random numbers in US dollar, and the interviewers ended the interview immediately. Turns out, the company is actually listed in the UK, so guess what? The stock price should be in GBP, and I've never heard from them again. Sometimes you might be caught off guard by these random questions, but it's alright. Because the interviewers ask these challenging questions to test your response rather than your knowledge. When this situation happens, remember to keep smiling and maintain eye contact with your interviewer to uphold a professional appearance. Displaying confidence can show that you can work well under stress and unexpected situation. Hope this video can help you succeed in your upcoming interviews. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and also turn on the notification bell if you want to learn more about career transition and also my investing strategies. See you next time. Bye.